here is Kerry Fink.
Thank you, John Harper. It's always fun to gather around the radio lunchtime Wednesdays right here on 90.3 FM WEJF because we share the lunch hour talking about helping seniors. And welcome if you're listening online at WEJF.net. And for those of you who catch this as a podcast later, you're going to enjoy today's show. We actually stole a tagline from one of our guests here today because she uses it in her business. And we titled the show, #Keep Life Moving. And so with that, I want to give credit where credit is due. I want to introduce Jital Patel, who is occupational therapist and owner of Coastal Occupational Therapy. Welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Kerry. Thank you for having me today.
And thank you for loaning us your title. It's a great one. And also in the studio with us today, another very, very long time friend of helping seniors and everything that we try to do. And almost would need no introduction, but because this is radio and they can't see you, this would be Jennifer Barton, who is the owner of Seniors Helping Seniors of Brevard. How are you today, Jennifer?
I am wonderful. It's good to be here.
We have a studio full of great guests because we also have the luxury of having Barbara Fradkin with the Brevard Parkinson's Alliance with us today, and we're going to be talking about all kinds of things that are going to keep you moving today. How are you, Barbara?
I'm fine, Kerry. Thank you for having me today.
And so I have a question to start off the show. How many of you have ever seen politicians agree on anything? Okay, so you heard what happened there, right? Well, let me tell you something everybody universally agreed on yesterday, because we had the privilege of being at the Brevard County Board of County Commissioners. And each year, because May is Older Americans Month, right, we had the privilege, Jennifer, you were there, I was there, and a whole bunch of people from the Helping Seniors side were there, because they do a proclamation each month called Older Americans Month Proclamation. And in the process of doing that, they select somebody that is worthy of being honored as the old, kind of like the, for a better way to put it, the poster child of being the perfect older American. And guess who got celebrated by unanimous vote of the County Board of Commissioners on yesterday? None other than our very own president and founder, Joe Steckler. Jennifer, talk about that. It was so fun to be there and see all of that.
It really was. It was kind of a proud moment to get to see Joe. Dr. Potopsky, who many know in our senior community, did a really nice write-up for him, speech, in his honor. And then Joe got to say a few words. It was a very, very nice honor, proud moment to be, part of the Helping Seniors community. And just, it was a really, really nice morning.
Yeah, it really was. And I pulled up, actually, they gave us this nice plaque, and Joe being Joe, because he's like the most humble person in the universe, he says, you guys are going to take this and put this up in the center, because he goes, it's for you guys, because you guys do all the work. And, he was really kind, because he was saying it's really a blessing to have all the people that make Helping Seniors go. And for those of you that may or may not know, Joe first established the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation, got all that rolling. They call them Joe's Clubs, the adult daycare centers that he put together during his tenure there. He retired from that, and I always go, he's a serial retirist because he can't retire. He's 90, and then literally we're into our 14th year now, starting our 14th year of service in Helping Seniors of Brevard. And when we met Joe, John Harper, you know this because you were part of everything that Joe was doing even back in Brevard Alzheimer's days. But then Joe started this organization 14 years ago because he wanted to make sure, he said, we got some resources now for people who have cognitive challenges and their families, but we got to do something because all seniors have challenges. We have to find a way to address that. So you know this, what I'm talking about, just as well as I do, right, John?
Indeed, especially when Joe founded the Joe's Clubs, the one on Wickham Road in Melbourne, and also the one in Titusville as well. And I think that made a big difference in Joe and the organization moving forward and gaining momentum, just as we are now with Helping Seniors.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to read a paragraph out because I thought this was for politicians, and I mean that with all love and respect. I thought this was exceptionally well written. They said, whereas in keeping with this national theme, we recognize Joe Steckler, local veteran and founder of Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation, as well as the president of Helping Seniors of Brevard, for his example of the positive aspects of growing older in Brevard County, and by his example remains engaged and successful in the community, and whereas, they love whereases in these proclamations, whereas we all applaud his work to combat ageism and engage with his fellow citizens throughout his county, cities, nonprofit organizations, and advocacy on behalf of seniors and their families, as we know that connecting with others plays a vital role in the health and well-being of our community and our senior population. And so therefore, they, in unanimous consent, agreed that Joe is proclaim him as the older American for Brevard this year. It's a big deal. And, you guys all can weigh in on this too. But, if you know Joe, at 90, he wakes up every day going, Kerry, we got to do more for seniors. Kerry, we got to do something more for seniors. It's tough being a senior. And he's leading the way for the rest of us.
He is. He is driven. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Even at 90, he is still always thinking of what can be done, what can we do, who can I call, who can we talk to, how do we motivate people, how do we get people together to work together for seniors. So, I hope at 90 I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah, so he's good about that whole hashtag life keeps moving thing, Jital. How did you guys come up with it? It's so appropriate because I know what you do is, we always laugh about this because my first exposure to occupational therapy was like, my mom is retired. She doesn't need this. And then they had to clear that up. It's like, that's not what we mean by occupational therapy, but you really are about keeping life moving.
Absolutely. Kerry, when I started my practice, I think it was one of my clients that I had, and we were talking about how, I think he was actually complaining and said, as just because I'm getting older doesn't mean I have to stop living my life. Doesn't mean I have to stop traveling or doing things. Why can't I just keep going? And I think that's where it kind of hit me because I didn't have a tagline at that time. And I said, well, you're right. And I said, you absolutely have every right to keep your life moving. And I was like, oh yeah. Keep life moving is great. And I think we really, at Coastal Occupational Therapy, we really strive and we encourage people to do that, being that we do go to clients' homes and that gives them the ability to do whatever they need to do at home, plus outside and social activities and everything. And we just help them keep their life moving by allowing them to do what they can.
No, it's so important. And we're going to dig a little bit deeper into the benefits of occupational therapy. But Jennifer, I want to say you kind of like fit that theme too with your company, Seniors Helping Seniors, because you really, first of all, you're keeping life moving for the seniors that you guys help, but then you hire seniors to help seniors. So that helps them keep moving. And then beyond that, you actually have a program called Electronic Caregiver, which makes it safe for seniors to be able to stay connected while they're moving.
Yes, we often joke that we're all seniors all the time. But we do. We want to keep people active and independent and at home, as much as possible. We're often the first ones in because we are licensing homemaker companion. We can't do any of the medical or hands-on. So often we are the first people to come into the house. And so the goal is to keep them moving, keep them active, because if they keep moving, they will stay healthier longer. We see it every day. So that electronic caregiver, it lets them walk through the entire neighborhood, out to Wickham Park, wherever they want to go. And hopefully they're perfect, but it's insurance. If something does happen, they can press that button and help comes directly to them where they are.
Yeah, and Barbara Fradkin, you understand everything we're talking about here at least as well as I do, maybe more so because, your role with Brevard Parkinson's Alliance, and especially the event that we want to let everybody know is coming up on this Saturday. So I want you to talk about not only that, but because it's a great opportunity about really keeping life moving. It is actually your Team Up for Parkinson's Disease 5K run and 1K walk. Talk a little bit about all that.
Well, I got involved with Parkinson's disease about 8 years ago. I'm a social worker, and I was working at one senior place, and someone came in and wanted to start a support group. So, of course, as a social worker, I said, sure, I'll help you start that group. And that's how I got involved with them. And when we talk about keeping active and keeping younger, with Parkinson's disease, that is number one, is to keep active with Parkinson's. Exercise is the key to this disease. And we stress this to all of the people that come to our support groups, that they need to keep moving, because if they stop moving, it's going to, hasten their life. So with our Team Up for Parkinson's Disease, this is our third annual. Mm-hmm. It is our biggest fundraiser of the year. And we get the seniors out there walking. We also are working with Running Zone so we can keep the community running. Running Zone has been a great partner with us for the last 3 years, along with our other sponsors, because the only way that we get money to help the people in the community is through our sponsorships and donations. So this year we were just honored with 8 presenting sponsors that are helping us this year. Centerwell Healthcare, Health First. This is the first year for them to join us as a sponsor. Amneal Pharmaceuticals, Mike Erdman Mobility, PPD Research Company, Supernus, they're a pharmaceutical company, Neurology One, which is our go-to movement disorder doctors in Orlando, Rhodes Law, which has been with us for a number of years, and then Running Zone. So they are our presenting sponsors this year for our event, and we're just thrilled to have them with us this year.
Yeah, so this is actually coming up this Saturday at 8 a.m. for the run, and it says on the little info sheet that I'm looking at 10 a.m. for the walk. And I love how you're making it really accessible for everybody. So if they say, well, I'm not really a runner, but I might want to get out there and be part of this, there's a way for them to do it. And it's all happening up there in Merritt Island at Veterans Memorial Center. If somebody's interested, how do they get information? How do you want them to sign up, or how do they respond?
Well, they can go to the running site website and then find our race and click on there, and they can sign up for the race, either the race or the walk. Or you can also sign up the day of the event. Just come a little earlier. If you've never been to Veterans Memorial Center, it's a beautiful park. Yeah. It has a pond around it, and there's bridges, and it's gorgeous out there. So this is the second year we've done it there, and we really thank them for opening up their building to us. If you've never been through the memorial, it's free to get in, and it's a great place to honor the veterans. So come by, even just to go through the memorial center itself. It's worth it.
Yeah, so we're talking with Barbara Fradkin, who is heads up Brevard Parkinson's Alliance, a local nonprofit, and their fundraiser, Team Up for Parkinson's Disease 5K Run, 1K Walk, happens Saturday, April 27th, with the race at the run is at 8 and the walk is at 10. And it sounds like it's really a great thing, because it says, I'm reading this, it says you got T-shirts, awards, medals. There's going to be a food truck out there. Mm-hmm. You get to take a tour free of the Memorial Park and museum as well.
Right. And it's a family event. Yeah. We normally have the people with Parkinson's come with their children and their grandchildren. So it's nice to see the grandchildren helping their grandparents with their mobility issues. We have Rocksteady Boxing is one of the exercise programs for Parkinson's disease. And at our Titusville location, there is a person that has Parkinson's, and his grandchildren come with him twice a week and help him with the program. So it's, it brings tears to your eyes to see how they work with their grandfather and honor him through his disease.
Well, that's good. We always have this line that we use in the helping seniors world, because everybody always says this about kids. It takes a village to raise a child. But we also find that same concept makes a lot of sense for seniors. In fact, we have a couple of lines that we like to use a lot. We say, don't try this on your own. There's so much good help to get out there. Sometimes we think we can just Google something and find a magic answer or something. But then, I don't know about you, but sometimes you can get into a Google search and get more confused than you started out with, because you're not sure if you're getting information that's appropriate for either your particular geographical location, or for that matter, even the right year. This just happened this week. I was trying to look up something, and I realized I'm seeing all these events from 2022. I'm like, that's not what I was trying to figure out. I wanted to see what was happening for 2024. So when that was the whole point that Joe Steckler, talking about our founder and president, he really envisioned when he put together the Joe's Senior Resource Center with the idea that there would be a place that people could go and get information, because what we really do as a nonprofit is what we call senior navigation. So it's kind of like in the old days, you'd stop in a gas station and ask for directions, right? Because you're trying to get to your destination. And really what we try to do in the Helping Seniors world is, well, not be a gas station, but we are trying to help people get pointed correctly on life's journey for whatever challenges they're running into. And I wanted to bring that up back to you, Jennifer, because when we talk about keep life moving, and kind of that's our theme for the day, and what we're talking about is, I think one of the things that's so good about what happens when you get people into people's homes, typically what does a senior do if they're not, the easiest thing to do is sit and do nothing, right? I mean, people just sit at home, and they're going to probably sit in front of the TV. And we, the adult children, think, well, mom's happy. She's just enjoying life, watching TV all day. But then when you get the right person in there to provide that extra help, it takes on a whole new meaning.
Absolutely. We certainly hope so, because we do see, and I'm sure both ladies here would agree, there's a huge difference. The senior that retires and stays home and sits on the couch, is older much faster than the senior who is still engaged in the community, is going out and seeing friends, and remains active and exercises. We get, a 63-year-old calling to say that they need help, and I think, oh gosh, you're not a senior yet. But then I'll have a 97-year-old call and say, oh, I just gave up my license. Think, oh, that's who I want to be. I want to be that 97-year-old. Yeah. So keeping moving and keeping social is a huge part of keeping healthy as a senior. So our goal is always, even if we're there just to take someone to the grocery store, we are wanting that companionship piece, that social piece. And, even if the only exercise that they're getting is going up and down every aisle of Publix, then let's do that. Let's get them out and get them walking.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jital, again, your background, your expertise as an expert occupational therapist. I remember, this has been years ago, but my mom was going through some rehab stuff, and I remember something that one of the people that was helping her said, if it moves, you need to keep it moving, because otherwise it's gonna cause more problems later. And I guess that's the point. So even to Jennifer's point, if they're helping mom or dad or aunt or uncle walk through the grocery store, that's still part of keeping them moving, right?
Absolutely. And it's use it or lose it, right?
Right.
And to come back to Jennifer's point about, having, I want to share a story about a common client that we had. Gentleman, he was 101 years old.
Wow. And,
we had seniors helping seniors there. And I think it was a combination of the companionship that he was receiving from these caregivers, and then therapy was called in, and so we were providing the therapy for a few times a week. But 101-year-old, and I will tell you, he was very excited every time we would come in, whether he was a caregiver or one of our therapists, because like you said, he just wanted to keep moving. Up until 95, he was playing senior tennis.
Wow.
And that's what it was. You keep moving and your joints will stay stronger. Granted, you won't have the best balance and you won't be the strongest like you were in your 20s. However, keeps you moving long enough that you're able to combat any diseases or illness. And if you fall, you're less likely to have that fracture.
I was going to just ask you that question, because you gave a great talk at the Senior Resource Center last month, and it was called No Broken Bones About It, because what you were trying to teach us was that it's very important that we stay moving so that we are able to stay safe and be able to either prevent falls or respond quicker if we think we're falling and things like that. And that was exactly my point that I was going to ask you is, isn't that part of why we need to stay moving too? Because it helps us with all those things, balance and all of that.
Yes. Moving is just not, my mom always says, well, I do a lot of housework around all day and I'm fine. I don't need to exercise. And so I try to explain the difference to her. And it's, whether you're moving, that's great, but add in a little exercise, add in a little strengthening too, because we sometimes neglect the type of exercises we do. We just go out for a walk and say that that's enough, or go out for gardening and say that's enough. But our muscles need to stay strong and healthy, and so do our bones. Without the support of each other, we kind of start to fall apart. So we do want to make sure that there's targeted exercises we're doing, right? Bone health is just as important as muscle health, and that's why you kind of seek out, specialists that will help you set up a program. But again, as therapists, we're only in the older adult's house for maybe 2 to 3 times a week. That's why it helps to have caregivers come in, and we work really well with a lot of the caregivers that come in, especially from seniors, helping seniors, because then we can chat and say, this is where we need to work on. Do you think you can help with this while we're not here? And that's really important, the teamwork that we're able to provide.
That's so important. Barbara, you see this a lot in your work with the Brevard Parkinson's Alliance, because I was hearing you say that it's so important, especially if you're trying to fight that disease as well, that you are also keep moving.
Right, and there's many programs that are out there now for people with Parkinson's. One of the big ones is POWER. It's Parkinson's Wellness Recovery, and it's head-to-toe exercise for people with Parkinson's disease. They show them how to fall gracefully and get up again if they're able to. It's also, they work on their speech pattern also. Speech is another very big important part of Parkinson's disease, and we have 2 speech therapists that we're affiliated with that work with the seniors and do swallowing exercises, speech exercises. There's a Speak Up program that's out there, and one of our Proclaim is one of the speech therapy that we work with. And Siobhan works with them with the Speak Out program, and it's a grant-funded program, so it's free. So, people need to take advantage of these things. And one of the things that the Alliance is doing is, if you can't afford to do these classes, we will help you. We can't pay for them completely, but we will help you. And we also try to encourage the caregivers of the people with Parkinson's to reach out, because they need help. So we also offer help with paying for caregivers for people. So the husband, the wife, the life partner, whatever, can go out for a few hours, a couple times a month.
So important.
Yes.
Well, we are going to continue this conversation, and I'm going to ask you to get a pencil during the mid-show break, because I'm going to give you some phone numbers and contact information for some of the great things we're talking about as we keep life moving on this Wednesday. We'll be back with the second half of Helping Seniors Radio in just a moment.
And that music means it's time for the second half of today's show, Helping Seniors of Brevard. That's Music of Your Life, and that plays right into our host and Executive Director of Helping Seniors of Brevard, Kerry Fink. Kerry?
Hey, John Harper. And it actually fits right into that theme of today, because we're always smiling about how it doesn't matter who's in the studio, they hear that music and they start moving. And that is our theme for today, keep life moving. Because
was Jennifer moving? I didn't see her over there behind the window.
Yeah, of course. And so we have usurped Jital Patel with Coastal Occupational Therapy's slogan that they use, because it is really, while we're making a lot of fun about it, it's very serious, right? You want to keep life moving. We've talked about this from like 3 different areas, because in the studio is Jennifer Barton with Seniors Helping Seniors, who helps seniors at home to keep life moving, hires seniors to keep them moving, helping other seniors, and even has electronic caregiver to help seniors stay safe whilst they are moving, as they say in jolly old England. And then for Jital, that is your business. That is exactly what you and your therapist do. You go to people's houses and you help them keep moving. And Barbara Fradkin, who is here with us today from Brevard Parkinson's Alliance, you said this is so important when you're talking to families and trying to help them move through the different processes of this disease, why that's so important to keep moving. So I wanted to do a thing that we didn't get to do in the first half right away. I want to make sure, I asked if you would grab a pencil, because I want to give you some contact information so that you can reach these perfect experts on keeping life moving. So let's begin with you, Jennifer Barton, Seniors Helping Seniors. This is 3 things, right? If you need some companion care help at home, if you are a senior, and I love how you say this, who has the heart of a volunteer but doesn't mind taking a paycheck. You hire those people, and then you have electronic caregiver.
Yes. So we can be reached at 321-722-2999. And also, we are on the web and, of course, on Facebook, social media. And I'll put a plug in. We're looking for a gentleman. We would love to hire a gentleman. We love to hire retired vets to go out and help other vets. So if you're a gentleman out there who's got some extra time and would love to go out and be a companion to another veteran, give us a call.
Yeah, say that number again, please.
It's 321-722-2999.
Okay, and Jital Patel with Coastal Occupation. I love the fact that you have explained that you don't necessarily have to get a referral directly from a doctor. There, people can contact you directly, and you can work through that whole process of making sure it's approved through the doctor's office. Am I saying that the right way?
You are, yes. Florida's a direct access state, meaning you can self-refer. It's so a lot of especially for outpatient therapy. So without getting too much into that, if you are looking for outpatient therapy where you are a little bit higher functioning, but you're worried about your balance or a little bit of strengthening, and you want to make sure that you're still independent while at home, you can definitely just give us a call, and then we take care of the referral. We contact the doctor, and we make sure that medical records and consent and all of that is signed, and we go over that, so you don't have to worry about that. But yes, you can always give us a call at 321-361-8040, and then we can take care of all the therapy needs, including the referral process.
Okay, and then again, for two reasons, Barbara, I want you to share how people can learn more about Brevard Parkinson's Alliance, but also, please, now that everybody supposedly has a pencil, let's talk again about what's coming up Saturday with the Team Up for Parkinson's Disease Run and Walk.
So we're sponsoring the Team Up for Parkinson's Disease, and it's Saturday, April 27th at the Veterans Memorial Center in Merritt Island. The run starts at 8 o'clock. The walk is at 10. And for more information on that, just go to Running Zone, and you can click on our link for our run. You can also contact us at brevardparkinsons22@gmail.com. And email us directly. We'll be glad to help you. And then our website is brevardparkinsons.org. So you can, get in touch with us and let us know if you have any questions. We'd be glad to help you, and just come out and have a great time at our event.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing about that. So again, I want to welcome you back to the second half of the Helping Seniors radio program, where we gather every lunchtime Wednesday right here on 90.3 FM, WEJF, also on line at WEJF.net. And by the way, if you missed any of the great conversation we were having in the first part of the show, it's a great idea that you can just find us every place good podcasts are, because you will find us there, whether it's Apple, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Hey, Alexa, play me Helping Seniors on my device. You can do all of that. And you'll find these programs. And we find a lot of people, either they get something out of a show and then they want to share it with somebody else and say, hey, here's a link. You can go hear it. We put these out on our Facebook page. We put these out on our YouTube channel. We, of course, post it to Helping Seniors of Brevard. .org. That's our website, and you can find a complete catalog of everything there. The important thing is use these materials to help you, as Joe Steckler, our president and founder, talks about, make an aging plan. And actually, so today's theme for our aging plan is Keep Life Moving. And I wanted to kind of dive back into the conversation a little bit. We were talking during the break, and sometimes I wish we could just talk during the break, because some of the best conversation happens while we're in the break. And I was making a comment that literally we had a group of volunteers, because we're now starting to move into the process of getting some help from kind people in the community who are willing to give back a little bit and say, hey, I'll help you guys in getting the work of Helping Seniors done. So literally, Dr. Shelley Horn, who's on our board, and Karen Wernland, who is one of our information specialists, the people that you speak to when you call in on the phone, you will hear from them, and they were training these folks about how we do what we do with the work of helping seniors, trying to help seniors and their families navigate all this stuff. And one of the interesting points was we started talking about demographically, because it goes back to something Jital was talking about in the first half of the show, a client that had reached 101. And we were making the comment during the break that it wasn't that long ago. If you woke up on a national news channel, there was one of the guys who would literally salute the person who had turned 100 that day. It was like a big national deal. But now seniors are living much longer, and it's not nearly, I mean, it's still special, but it's not so unusual. And so when we talk about this keep life moving stuff, it has to do with the fact that we're all living longer, and so we want to be able to stay mobile longer. Am I saying, jump in, guys, am I saying that the right way?
Yeah, like you said, we're aging longer. Our baby boomers are aging, right? And the longer we age, our needs are going to change, and especially with everything that's going on in the world and the technology changes. It's like, to use your tagline, it does take a village.
Yeah.
Right. So using the resources, like Barbara said, with Parkinson's disease, there's a lot of people that don't know that the walks or runs like this benefit either by fundraising or the fact that you can go out and be social for that one day or that 1 or 2 hours, right? And then they may need a caregiver to go with them. But our goal as healthcare providers is just that finding their hobbies, say, and no matter what age you are, you should be able to do them. And if not, then we're here to help. And that's really important, to keep their life moving, not just because they have to, but to make it really their own. This is what they like to do, and let's figure out a way to get them to do that.
I think one of the things that we've always talked about, Joe calls it an aging plan. We kind of euphemistically have tried to make it seem a little less like homework, and we call it getting your ducks in a row. But basically, it's the same idea. What we're saying is we understand hurricane plan living in Florida. Doesn't mean you want a hurricane. You just want a plan to deal with it if it's coming your way. And that's why we talk about this aging plan. But we've also added a couple of rules, corollaries, whatever you want to call them. One is, don't try this on your own. There is a wealth of great people, great resources in our community who have probably been there, done that, and can help you on the journey and help you avoid pitfalls on that journey. And then the other thing that we always talk about is, don't put your head in the sand. Don't be an ostrich and put this stuff off, because usually this is an area where waiting is not going to be your friend. It's going to actually just start to close off options. And I think, isn't that what we're talking about when we talk about keep life moving? That's kind of preventative. At the same time, it's trying to help you enjoy your life more. Jennifer, you want to, because I guess you see this all the time when you're going into people's homes and that part of it.
Well, part of the assessment process that we do is asking them about their hobbies, interests, and unfortunately, there are many times when somebody says, well, I don't have any hobbies, I don't do anything anymore. Well, what did you used to do? Because we can go from there, and maybe they can't do it exactly the way they used to be able to do, but there's still a lot of times where they can enjoy those hobbies, maybe just in a different way. We're not going to go out and play 18 holes of golf, but we can go to the driving range, or we can go to the putting green. And that's still exercise, getting out there and walking around and having a good time. It's socializing. So it is really important to keep moving. It may not look exactly like it did when we were 20, as Jital said, but we can still do a lot, and we can still get out and enjoy ourselves.
There was a part of the discussion also. I'm trying to remember if this happened in the break or not, but we were talking about, one of you guys was talking about working with some clients who were in their 70s and calling themselves old. And I thought it was interesting to hear. I think that was you, Jital, and you were talking about, you guys are not old, right?
Right. I mean, at least in my, and I'm sure, I don't know if you guys agree with this too, like our average client that I have, mid-90s, easily.
Wow.
And so when we have a couple that's 70, their 70s.
Spring chickens.
You guys are young. Yeah, spring chickens. But, for this specific client that I was mentioning, they've traveled the world. I mean, their home is filled with a lot of memorabilia. They have amazing stories that relate to all the artifacts that they've collected. they're in their mid 70s and have almost kind of given up. We've talked about travel. I travel a lot too, and then they said, well, we don't travel anymore. I don't think we can, and so we're not going to do it. Or like you said, Jennifer, I asked, well, what are your hobbies? Well, we just stay home because we don't think we can do it anymore because we're getting old. And that shocked me because I said, well, you're not. Yeah, you're definitely not old. You're still a spring chicken, like you said, and there's so much that they can do. And for now, they're taking one step forward and getting the therapy and the exercises, but we're trying to find out what their hobbies truly were, what they enjoyed doing, and trying to get maybe even caregivers to come in to give them that companionship, which I think is what's lacking.
Yeah, there's actually two tracks I want to run down from what you were just saying, and one was about the travel, because I actually have a Helping Seniors fundraiser thing I want to talk about that. But before I get there, what I thought was interesting was when you're talking about I think when you're talking about these hobbies and things people enjoy to do, you're really talking about helping them envision the things that they you have to maybe do things at like what you're talking about, do things at a different pace, or maybe make some shifts into how you do things. But it doesn't mean you should be able to find really enjoyment really at any age, because I think, to your point, if somebody, I remember this statistic because we used to use this back in corporate days when we talked to advertisers in New York City about older demographics. And the thing I would always walk in and say to a 20-something time buyer at a Madison Avenue agency, and they would go, oh, those are old people. I said, did you know in the year 1900, if you turned 50, statistically, you were dead? It's just what life expectancy was in 1950. And what we've just been talking about here now is that it's not unusual for people to be turning 100 in the way that it once was. In fact, even this was true. This is literally 25 years ago in New York City. We used to quote the statistic, and you could see the eyeballs go, wow, I didn't know that. The statistic was that when you turned 65, back then, you would have another 18 years of life expectancy on average the day you turn 65. So life is getting longer, and so the question is, what are you going to do to maximize everything that you can do with that life? And to your point, when you help somebody find ways to overcome like whatever the challenges are, then you're really helping them to enjoy their everyday life. Barbara, that is kind of like your message, I think, a lot of times through Brevard Parkinson's Alliance. You're helping families. They have a serious thing that they're working through, but you're also helping them work through that process with the things that you do. Right.
And one of the things I always talk to people about is, to talk to their children. I mean, a lot of these seniors out there don't want to bother their kids. They think that their kids are too busy for them, so they don't want to even talk to their kids. But the kids need to know what's going on at home, especially if they're out of state. They'll call mom and dad once a week or twice a week, and they'll say, yeah, everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. And until the day that it's not. Yeah. And, so it's important for the seniors to know that it's okay to say to your child, I'm not feeling well and I need help. You're not bothering them. You're actually, making them more aware, because these kids are going to be your age one day, and they're coming in blindsided. The kids are blindsided. They don't know what to do for their parents as they get older. They don't know the resources to reach out. So having, all the resources that we have here in Brevard County is so important for them, and to know that they can call somebody. They can get a caregiver to come out. They can get therapy at home, that these are things that they're going to need. Yeah. Don't wait until it's an emergency, and they call from the hospital to say your mom or your dad is in here, I just want the seniors to know not to be afraid to reach out for help. And if you don't want to talk to your families, there's advocates out there that can help you to talk to your family and to use the right words. So, the family is aware of everything that's going on.
What you're talking about is so important. There's an expression that our operations director, Nancy Deerdorf, likes to use, and it's so appropriate. She says, how do you know what you don't know. And that's really the problem. Like if you're the adult children, I was thinking as you were telling that story, I've heard Jennifer talk so many times about how you guys get called into a situation. Somebody came down and visited mom or dad for Thanksgiving or, some holiday. And then they're going home and they're calling like, wow, I didn't know it had gotten that bad. They got to get some help at home. Jennifer, isn't that that's what you want to do is you want to encourage that communication.
As Barbara was talking, I'm nodding my head in agreement completely because we often get busier after holidays, Christmas and New Year's. We're always busy in January because they do. You call down and mom says, oh, I'm fine. Everything's great. You have a lovely conversation for 5 or 10 minutes. And the kids are very well meaning, but they don't know until they get down here and see that the house isn't as clean as it used to be. Mom's not doing as well. There's expired food in the fridge. Yep. There are other things going on. And then, oh my gosh, you're right, Barbara, they're blindsided of, oh my gosh, we need to get help in the house. And what do we do? And they don't know medically what's going on, medications. And as the kid in that situation, I want to be able to help. I want to be active in my parents' care. So talk to me and let me know what's going on so that we can do this as a team approach.
And that's really the point that Joe has always been after when he talks about making that aging plan is getting everybody in the loop so everybody knows what's going on. I know that's always been the goal of helping seniors is to create that senior navigation loop to try to help families ideally well before there's a big problem. Think about, the pathways that are going to give them the most success on everything and still be there to support them when, stuff that's unexpected happens. One of the things, though, to kind of jump back onto our Keep Life Moving segment, and I thought since Jital brought it up, and we've talked about it a little bit, I want to talk about the travel thing. This is actually a fundraiser. We're a Helping Seniors nonprofit, which means we can only do as much services as people help us to be able to do. And so there's a guy who sits on our board. His name is Chris Morse. He and his wife are actually special needs certified travel agents, which I was thinking about this, Jital, because what they really love to do is help people who were sure their traveling days were no longer possible to make that possible and do it safely. And so because that means that they have all the skills about I need diabetic supplies, I need to carry oxygen with me, I need whatever the issues are, they are certified about that. And so we do a sailing. Actually, you're coming with us on the June 9th sailing, and I'm so excited about this. We do a Helping Seniors Foundation Cruise. This is actually our 4th annual Helping Seniors Foundation Cruise. Nobody shakes you down for money on the ship for a donation. It's your vacation. But Chris has already shaken down the cruise line, so when you come sail with us, we get a donation that goes directly into the Helping Seniors Foundation. So when you go sailing, you are getting a great deal. You're going with a great group of people from Brevard County, and you are actually supporting the work of Helping Seniors while you're having a great time on your vacation. But what I wanted to say, what I'm really excited about on this particular effort is because, Jital, you're going to come with us not only on this sailing, but I think on the January sailings as well. And you're actually introducing a program on board that's going to get us going about the things that we want to know to keep life moving. Talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, and Kerry, I want to thank you and Chris for this. I know we had talked about how we can collaborate and provide make sure the cruise is fun and not seem like we're taking them to school with all these presentations. But our idea was, yes, you're going on the cruise, and that's great because I think what Chris does is so fantastic, especially with those younger clients of mine that we were talking about that they don't think they can travel. But, if they had someone to reach out to and say, well, this is the type of oxygen tank I need, a Hoyer lift, wheelchairs, adaptive equipment. But aside from the equipment, where can I travel that's accessible? Because a lot of times, the research is cumbersome and there's so much out there. Right. When you have a specialist like Chris, he can help you walk through all of that. But specifically on that where, we had talked about, well, once you're on the cruise, that's great. Let's make it maybe a little more educational because while you're there, and especially on the days when you're at sea, what we're providing for this first cruise is a lot of presentations, live demonstrations, exercise classes, how to stay fit while you're on the cruise. How do you, you're going to be walking around a lot. So maybe let's talk about a little bit of posture, pain management, so you can have an enjoyable cruise because you're deciding that you can still enjoy your life, keep moving by traveling, And while you're on the cruise, let's keep that going. So, if you have a therapist on board with you, if there are any questions, we're going to be more than happy to help out. But we have a whole, 7 days?
Yeah.
7-day itinerary planned for everyone. Every morning, exercise classes. We're open to questions, one-on-one programs where myself and my other therapists, we will be there to answer any questions or to kind of guide you through it. And we'll have presentations that we'll be doing. And if there's anything specific, any topic that anyone's interested in, we're going to be more than happy to discuss that with everyone. One of the ones that I'm actually really excited about is the fitness classes, but also we were talking about fall preventions. And I thought that was kind of funny, but not really. But I said, we're on the cruise, and sometimes there's turbulence on the cruise, and we're talking about fall preventions, and people are using assistive devices. How do you take care of yourself?
Yeah.
How do you maintain safety during that time? So I think when we're going to be doing a specific live demonstration, like Barbara, you said how to fall properly, and if you don't want any falls, but if there are, even at home, how do you get up from a fall if you can?
I was smiling when you were talking about fitness classes and things like that, because this is a true story. So how you get your little program and they tell you what's on deck. And so I remember sitting, because we used to do a lot of cruises a lot of times with a bunch of seniors on board. And a group of ladies was really excited. They were going to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning because the fitness instructor was going to be out on the pool deck and they were going to get their day started. So here goes these lovely older ladies, and they go up there, and the comment was, this lady's going to kill me, because the exercises were for high aerobic 20-year-old. And what I love about what you do is you understand how to keep it moving, but you're not going to either wear somebody out, but you're going to make sure it's appropriate for where they are in their particular level of motion. Am I saying that the right way?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're not going to the gym to pump iron and, go. If you want to be in that muscle competition, feel free. But our goal is to just, keep you just limber. At the type of work that we do, I'm quite familiar with the type of exercise that would be appropriate for our aging population. And that's how we're going to be targeting it. We're not going to be, like I said, California Muscle Beach. But we will make sure that because it's a cruise, we want you to have fun, eat as much as you want, but let's get those calories burning for a little bit, especially in the morning.
Yeah, but there's an old sailor secret. There are 0 calories at sea. It's something about the ocean water and all of that, right? So anyway, it's not too late for you to go with us in June, because I was talking to Chris just yesterday, and he said, no, people can still call, and it's possible. Space is limited, but you can call. The best number to call, I'm just going to give you our Helping Seniors number, and Karen or Nancy will get you pointed in the right direction. That number is 321-473-7770. And that's a great number, because you can ask about the cruise. Maybe you heard something Jital was talking about, or you said, I heard Barbara talking about the Parkinson's walk, but I didn't get a chance to get the phone number down, or I heard about the great stuff that is available through Seniors Helping Seniors. 321-473-7770. Wasn't there an ad that used to say, one number does it all? So that's 321-473-7770. I have a minute to remind you that we are now in car raffle season. And so it's called Choose Your Adventure. There's 6 great cars that you can choose from in the 8th annual. Can you believe that, Jennifer? This is the 8th annual Helping Seniors car raffle. And there's some cool choices. There's a Jeep in there. There's a pickup truck in there this year. There is a couple of cool little SUVs. There's a wonderful sedan in there. And you're just not going to go wrong, because you're going to choose the car that you want when you win Sunday, October 27th at the American Muscle Car Museum. And so how do you get a ticket for that? You can go to helpingseniorscarraffle.com. One ticket is $25 for a $100 donation. Or you can call that same one number, 321-473-7770. So I want to thank Jennifer Barton. Real quick, your phone number for Seniors Helping Seniors.
Well, I'm going to do a quick plug for tomorrow at the Senior Resource Center. We're having a program starting at 11.
Yes.
11 to 12:30, and it is to tell them really quickly who's coming to talk.
Yeah, Dr. Cressida Cornish, the pharmacist, is going to talk about keeping your medication safe, like how they interact with each other and all that.
Which would be a great program, because Saturday happens to be Drug Take Back Day.
Oh, good.
So come to the program tomorrow, figure out what you don't need anymore and need to get rid of. Go Saturday to the Parkinson's Walk, and then after that, go take all of the unused, unneeded medications to a number of different drop-off locations in Brevard County.
All right, sounds good. All right, Jital, phone number.
Our phone number at Coastal Occupational Therapy, should you need us, 321-361-8040.
And then you got to, again, call us. Barbara, do you want to give a phone number or anything?
Well, yeah, I'll give you the number 262-501-1244. That's my phone, but I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have about our run.
Okay, thanks for joining us on Helping Seniors Radio this time. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next Wednesday right back here.